Welcome. Welcome, everyone. So good to see some familiar faces here and to be with you on this beautiful Thursday, where we're going to explore together the biggest lie about nervous system healing and how to close that gap between where you are and where you want to be. We're going to discover what's actually happening in your nervous system when you get activated and why the standards that you've been holding yourself to guarantee that you're going to feel like you keep failing, and what it takes to close the gap between knowing and really living it, really embodying this in your body. Because you didn't get here by playing it safe. You have probably spent your entire life being needed, and you've collected a lot of roles, the good girl, the good wife, the good mother, the strong one, the one who just pushes through when you just want to curl up in a ball. And you became perhaps the one that everyone else needs you to be, and you've done it beautifully, but nobody saw what it cost you. And you haven't had time, maybe up until now, to actually slow down enough to actually look at, what do I want? And I want you to just know that if any of that resonates with you, that you're not behind and you're not broken and you're certainly not too late. These patterns that have been running your life, they're not flaws. They're beautifully designed protective patterns and strategies, and you may call them coping skills, that your younger self built in a condition or an environment that no longer exists, but your body didn't get the memo. So we're not here to fight her, the one that's still protecting you. We're here to really thank her and let her gently rest. And the first half of life was spent becoming enough for everyone else. And the second half of life is your time. It's your time to discover who you are, who you've been all along, and that you are whole and healed and complete. And this is about coming home to yourself, coming home to your heart, coming home to really know without a shadow of a doubt that you are enough and that you have enough. You have enough money, you have enough peace, you have enough health to say yes, and you have enough purpose to matter and enough community like this one to be held and seen and witnessed, and enough trust to choose you as the most loving act that you can do for yourself, but for everyone in your life. Because when you're living into your purpose, when you are aligned, when you are coherent, everybody else gets to live by that. And you don't have to earn your place here. You don't have to become somebody else. And you've spent decades building a good future, and now it's here. And it's time to build a life that you can finally enjoy. I know so many of the women that I speak to over the years have often said to me, I don't know who I am, let alone what I want. And I can't remember the last time I played. And this often happens when we grow up and we take on the role of the parentified child, and we're in hyper independence, and um, we grew up, right? These are when we were told, oh, you're wiser than your age, or gosh, you're so grown up. And we think it's a compliment, so we keep playing that role where inside that little one is just crying to be a child, crying to play and be carefree instead of carrying the world on her shoulders. So if that was some version of your childhood, um, she did a really, really good job. And this is your homecoming. This is not self-improvement. This is really about getting out of the survival, breaking that cycle, that pattern of not enough, and really coming home. So if any of that landed, put one word in the chat, whatever came up. Yeah, beautiful. Relief, ready to put it down. Exhausted. Oh, of course you are. Excited. That's beautiful. Ready to play. Yes. Yes. I always say money loves fun people, and that high vibrational frequency is what lets our protective parts relax and know there's nothing to do. We can play now, and we can't create when we're living from survival. And if you know Maslow's theory, it's like if you are in need, on that need bottom rung, there is no time to play, there is no time to rest. So digestive issues and um, fibromyalgia, which is oftentimes a frozen fear. I see a lot of that come up when we clear the fear that's rooted in or held in the cellular memory of the body, and that fear starts to thaw away. The pain goes. So remember too, you're not your diagnosis. And I want to start with somewhere that actually has nothing to do with healing. That there's a life that you almost almost can taste, right? You keep starting something that's going to get you closer to the life that you envisioned yourself living, especially when you come to your midlife era. And it's just like, okay, this is my time. You know, the kids have left home, or uh, you've transitioned into perhaps living a single life because your partner has moved on or has possibly passed, and for the first time you're kind of going, what do I want? And this is like the garden in Chinese medicine. We always talk about the body as an internal garden, and the memoir and the friendships that you'd revive if you had anything left at the end of the day. Or perhaps you've been wanting to be slower in the mornings, without grabbing your phone and rushing out the door, that you want a slower life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a life that is diminished, which is, again, one of the things that our nervous system gets really frightened about if you've never known how to relax, that it hasn't been safe for you to be slow. So think about that. You know, is it a course or a painting experience that you want to do, or um, maybe it's the room in the house that's still full of other people's things that you keep meaning to clear up, but you never quite get to do it. And for you, you know exactly what that is. You've probably been thinking of it, all the shoulds on your to-do list for the last 10 seconds as I was bringing that up for you. And there's a question that you probably maybe have been asking is, when is it my turn? You know, when do I get a turn? And I can almost hear the little child in that saying, when is it my turn? You know, the musical seats where you're the one that never gets to sit down, right? Because the chairs keep being taken away, and as the chairs get smaller, more and more of your friends get out, and you're the one that's always the one that leaves that game first. So it's your time now. It is your turn now. So I want you to just type the thing in the chat that you almost keep starting. No explanation, just the first thing that comes up. I'd love to know what that looks like for you. Janice says, starting the book, starting the memoir. Finishing your tapestry. I love that. Yeah. The drawer full of courses that you've bought and never done. Yeah, I know that one well too. Yeah, these all sort of come from not enough, right? I have to keep buying more, but you never get time to actually do it. Oh, that's a beautiful one. You have the piano that you've never actually opened it. Time to time to bring music into your life, Janice. Katie. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that cooking course in Tuscany. That sounds gorgeous. Time to book the plane ticket. Yeah, beautiful. So let me just let the dog in, sorry. Yeah, so here's what you're carrying while you don't start it. It's a tiredness that sleep doesn't fix because it isn't that kind of tired. Or maybe it's a vigilance around money that no bank balance has ever switched off, no matter how healthy your bank balance has looked or your investments or in portfolio look. You're always careful with money. One of my clients said to me, she's been frugal with money her whole life, and there was always plenty. But for her, there was something in her childhood that came up around that the money was going to go away, um, and that related to love. So yeah, guilt attached to rest is another big one. Yeah, Claire. Yeah, that's a big one. Um, and if you had a mother that also wasn't able to regulate her nervous system, I know my mom was like that a lot. Uh, she was constantly busy as a way to avoid feeling alone in a dysfunctional marriage. Yeah, so guilt often is attached to rest, and as children, we live what we learn. So when we see that, we make meaning of it, and oftentimes it comes with, oh, you're lazy. What are you doing sitting down? There's chores to be done. Go do, go do something. So we're taught to be doing rather than being as children, and we carry that into our lives, don't we? So yeah, so there's always a lot of guilt attached to rest because we're taught that we need a permission slip that nobody ever gives you in order to rest, and that's exhausting. And I think the habit of coming last on your own list is a big one for most women that I speak to, that I work with. And you're always putting yourself at the end of the line. You'll always find the money to buy what your children need, or make sure that your dog gets to the vet when they need attention. But you put off your needs until eventually you don't even know what you need, because it becomes so automatic that you'd have to really think hard to remember, what it is that you want. And here's what's true, and it's probably the only sentence tonight that I'd ask you to write down. And there's something that happens in the brain when we listen and when we write. We're using different parts of our brain. So write this down. Let your body really download this. Healing happens when you stop protecting a life that you're not living. And healed, if we look at the definition of the word, is whole, healed, and complete. So if you've been scattering parts and pieces of yourself all over the place, being and doing everything for everybody else, you're not in your life, right? You're not in your life. You're not in your body. So where have you been protecting a life that you're not living? And this is not when you stop getting triggered either. It's not when you are finally feeling calm enough to do something. It's not when you've done enough work. Sometimes not doing is the work. And for most women, that's pretty common, right? That we don't know how to give ourselves permission to just be. So when you stop protecting a life you're not living, how would things look different for you? How much more space could you occupy in your own body, in your own life? How much more freedom would you have? Because that's what's happening. Something deep inside of you has been protecting you so brilliantly from a life that you actually want, but you never quite get to fully embody and fully live into it. And you maybe give yourself bits of it, but then you go back to the familiar. And for me, that looked like I didn't really struggle to start. I was always coming up with creations and business schemes and I was really good at making money and making things work, but I struggled to stay. So for me, at one time in my life, I had a very full practice and a wait list of private clients when I created, I think it was 2020, how old was that year? 2012. I created this beautiful container for a woman called the Diamond Wealth Mastery Program. And I launched it. It was a seven-figure launch. I ran it twice. The woman got extraordinary results. And then I let it go because I felt it was limiting my talents because it was really solely around creating wealth. And I felt like, oh, what happened to all the years that I'd spent healing bodies and minds, and I was just feeling like that I wasn't giving enough because that was one of my things too, is was an over giving, over always over giving and overcompensating for this part that was longing to be seen and acknowledged as a child. So I would scale their businesses and they'd create incredible results. Um, without the burnout. And I wanted to give that program more depth because how we do anything is how we do everything. So I created another program and that was called the biology of emotions, right? It was very much centered around depression and anxiety at that time. I think it was 2015, 2014, 2015. Very much in nervous system reset and integrating the body and the emotions and the nervous system. And I was doing this years before it sort of took off online. So again, sometimes leading, being ahead of the curve can be very lonely. And you don't get any traction. And I need the sacral response. I need to wait before I respond. So I was creating this incredible body of work. And the online world didn't know the language yet of Peter Levine and Gabor Mate and Dick Schwartz. And, I was honored and very lucky to have worked with the likes of Bruce Lipton and Gabor Mate and John Veltheim, who created the Body Talk systems, and some incredible minds. Way back in 2006, I started doing this work with epigenetics and looking at the integrated body, mind, soul, spirit from traditional Chinese medicine and bringing all of this together. And it was a brilliant, brilliant program. And again, I sold it out, had a six-figure launch. And I love teaching that work. And I was mid-launching the second cohort of that when my life took an unexpected turn. And 2018, I suddenly upped and left my home, everything I'd known, my practice, my child in South Africa. And I left to come to the UK because an old pattern was coming up where my partner was about to lose his home and we were going to lose everything. And that was a pattern that had been a repeat of an old trauma that I thought I'd worked through, but I kept attracting these men that created the same loop all over and over again. So that's a story for another day, but I moved mid-launch. So the second round never happened. And then COVID hit and I was back in survival mode in a strange country, and I won't give you the whole story. But you have the same, probably a version of that tower card moment when the life that you knew was falling down, or you could see that it was about to all burn to the ground. And so you made a pivot, or you made a decision that got you to where you are now. And we all know how quickly life can change. And I share that story with you as a turning point, because chaos follows disruption. It always happens that way. It's a natural part of evolution, and yet we want familiarity and certainty. And I share it in the context of the patterns because there I go. I'd created multiple seven-figure businesses over my lifetime since I was 20. And I had then back to back created two very successful programs. And if I'd stayed with either one of those, refined it and kept repeating it and allowed it to compound over the last 10 years, my life probably would look really different to what it looks like now. Those years that followed the first launch could have looked really different, but I didn't stay, right? So there was an aspect of me in my patterning that was like I could make money, I could create amazing things, but I couldn't hold it. I didn't have the capacity to hold on to it because at the back of my mind, my belief system was everything I love, I lose. It's not safe. It's not safe to stay consistent and repeatable and in the familiar. I have to keep moving so that I keep myself safe. So maybe you can relate to that in your life. And maybe you, like me, saw that every time growth required repetition or growth required you to stay doing the same thing, you chose to burn it down and start over again, as if you have something to prove that what you had created or what was, whether that was monetary gain, whatever it was, notoriety, attention, you keep choosing reinvention because it's not safe to be seen, or it's just like that is a very common one that the women that I work with are very similar to me. So, and no excusing my ADHD brain or that I have a disorganized attachment, or perhaps you recognize yourself as being diagnosed or as one of those things, or chronic PTSD from your childhood, or that you just get easily bored. All of those can be true, and we can still see that even though we know what we want, that pattern runs really, really deep. So from the outside looking in, people thought, wow, you're so creative. How do you adapt, and how do you move and evolve and follow your next calling with so much ease? But it wasn't ease, it was survival pattern. So my conscious intention was to build something that endured, that was familiar, that was sustainable. But my old survival pattern, my unconscious belief systems and my behaviors kept blowing up a good thing. So under the boredom, if this resonates with you, and under the scattered brain, at the root, there's always going to be a primary pattern of survival that keeps taking you out of a really good life that you've created. And for me, and for many of my clients, without safety, you can't create. I know I sound like I repeat myself a lot, but it's true that if your primary driver is I'm not safe, or it's not safe, then it's not safe to have money, it's not safe to be seen, it's not safe. So it doesn't matter what you do, what systems and structures you put in place. It doesn't matter how much you work on getting your work out there. It's not sustainable, because that safety piece will always pull you back into what you know, even if it's not what you want. So if you're not safe, then it's not safe to stay the same. And for me, that meant I had to keep moving or I would lose everything again. So it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that the very thing that your nervous system is trying to protect you, right? Predict and protect, that's all it's interested in, from happening again, right? Because it always is looking at your history to see what's going to come in a future that's totally unknown, to protect you from that, ever finding yourself in a situation where you do lose everything. So I hope that makes sense. But my conscious intention, what I wanted and what my nervous system was saying I couldn't have because it wasn't safe, is the coherence gap. And today, this is what we're coming together to get the gap, mind the gap, right? So yours may look like changing your offer, or calling it a career or a midlife or a midlife crisis or an identity crisis. Or maybe you find yourself reworking your plan and calling it not ready yet or not good enough, or you keep rewriting the draft of a book that you've wanted to put out in the world, and that's important work based on your lived experience and what you learned, so that you can shorten that distance for somebody else that may be looking for your book or for you. It might be leaving a 25-year relationship because you realize that you have disappeared under decades of narcissistic abuse. And you just felt numb, right? But you stayed for fear of starting over, of not knowing who you'd be. Or, as I said, you repeatedly you begin a course that you've bought, or you start working with a coach or a mentor, or you start the diet or the conversation with somebody again, only to quit and go back to what you know. And then you call yourself lazy or weak when underneath your body is just crying for safety, a safe place to rest. That's why I love working with horses. I used to do a lot of work with equine psychotherapy because horses are such beautiful mirrors and their heart's 600 times bigger than ours. So they have this beautiful healing energy to be able to mirror to us the very thing that wants to be made whole. And horses are incredible in their herd, that you'll always find three horses standing the direction of north and south and east, and they stand watch so that the herd can lay down, which is very vulnerable for a horse, and sleep and rest. You'll always find three. And this is why it's so important that in order to find safety internally, we need a safe place to explore that, and why community is so important, right? That they can hold and witness your grief, or help you to move and metabolize anger that's being pent up, or anything that's moving through you. We need eyes on us. We need community to hold space and be that certainty of safety while we are learning or remembering how to be safe in ourselves. So if you keep reaching the same thresholds and you keep making a different version of the same decision, and you know it's not working, just know, trust me when I say you don't need another strategy or a system or a therapist. You need to know what takes over when it's time to stay, to give yourself permission to explore without turning healing or self-discovery into another chore, another to-do list for your to-do list, or another thing to fix, right? Because we're great problem solvers. We know how to solve problems. We know how to do the hard things. But what if it's time to lay it down right now? So I know I've been talking for 30 minutes already, and I just want to be mindful of the time. So are there any questions? Are we good to go? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, lots of thumbs. Good. So just know that, this internal war that you've been fighting, it's not your fault. It's just physiologically what the body knows best how to do, what the nervous system is designed for. And your body holds what we call cellular memory. Gabor Mate wrote the book, I think, When the Body Says No, and it's all about this. It's what happened to you, but it doesn't protect the past. The past has already happened. And you survived it. You're here to tell the story, but your nervous system, your body protects you the only way it knows how. And that's against the possibility of the past repeating. It's only interested, as I said earlier, in predicting and protecting you from a future you haven't experienced based on past hurts and past pain. It's not interested in creativity or what you dream of and what you want for yourself. It's just running a forecast from an old tape, an old operating system with deep tracks in the neural pathways of your brain. And it's very, very good at doing its job. And that's why life keeps repeating the same loops, right? And we want to break the pattern, right? We need to break the cycle of not being yourself. And attracting the same people and situations and money traumas and dramas and trauma and emergency and different versions of the old story. And this is why we're like, why do I keep choosing the same narcissistic partners? Why do I keep choosing the same abusive bosses? You'll see the pattern. It starts showing up in your life. And that's what we're wanting to change here, is to find a place where the body can stop protecting. So think of a soldier who never got the memo that the war was over, and he's still out there and he's on the battlefield, which is now actually the boardroom, for example, and you're still you're scanning for the enemy, hyper vigilant, and that is still standing between you and your freedom. It's still doing exactly what that soldier role was, what he was doing then. But 40 years down the line, when he's not on the battlefield, or you're not on the battlefield anymore, you're protecting a life that you're not living. So if you took the pattern assessment, you already know your primary survival pattern. But if you haven't yet, here are the four. I'll just briefly go over the four main the most common patterns. And you can take the quiz over on my website. But for now, the first one is the dreamer. And I always call the dreamer capped out. She shrinks her desires and her self-expression. Something in her gets smaller, and you try to occupy less room, and you ask for less. So you're the child that your mother said, oh, you were so easy, you never asked for anything, you were such an easy child. And you want less, right? Because you knew that your needs weren't going to be met. You had an opinion, and by the time it reached your mouth, it was a question. And every time you chase certainty, you created paralysis, because certainty can't be found in the future. So if you're chasing certainty from a place of, I'm not going to ask for anything, I'm just going to be really quiet and really small, and I'll just stay out of danger that way, then you're not certain of anything. So you become paralyzed. And this can look like a functional freeze, right? Where you are working and you're still doing, and you look fine on the outside, but on the inside, you're dying inside. And it's because certainty can't be found in the future. So if you're chasing certainty and you're dreaming, right? You're in your head looking for an escape hatch, and dreaming of what your life would look like. And then you kind of shrink back into not doing that. It's a physiological response that the desire gets pushed down as a way to not want anymore, which is why so many women don't know what they want anymore, because the desire button has got pushed down so far so that you don't know. So ask yourself, will you regret not taking a risk on yourself, right? Taking a chance on yourself, or will you regret not being true to yourself? Or what are your regrets for not being true to yourself? And usually the answer will become obvious. So then imagine making the wrong decision right now if you're a dreamer. I want you to just feel all the feelings that you think would come with that perceived failure of being wrong. And just let them, if they flood in, just rub your hands together, or stay in your body and just welcome them and say, oh, there you are. I see you. Because this almost always clarifies the decision-making process quicker. Not to push them down or force them away or make them wrong, but just to allow those parts and pieces of you to know there is no wrong. There is no right or wrong. All feelings, all thoughts are welcome here. Okay, and then the dreamer is also the one, as I said, withdraws, disconnects, and becomes very absent. So you may feel like you flatlined. Again, not living a life, protecting a life you're not living, right? You just feel numb. Life every day, you're just kind of running on automatic pilot. You pull back, right? Your vital life force energy shrinks, the fire in your belly goes out. And that may look like you go really quiet and pleasant and slightly absent. So you're in the room, but you're not, you've left the building, right? You're out there somewhere else because it's the only way that you can get through being where you are. There's a resistance to where you are in your life. So that conversation happens and you're kind of watching it. It feels like you're watching it behind glass. So that's the dreamer. The thinker, she's the one that, the overthinker, she's constantly ruminating and OCD about everything and trying to control and contain. And she braces and she white knuckles and she's kind of tense all the time, holding everything together. And your jaw, maybe you grind your teeth, or your shoulders are up and you don't really get a full breath into your belly because you're shallow breathing. And you get through life, if you're an overthinker, by gripping, and you're paying for it at 3 o'clock in the morning, right? When you can't go to sleep because you're ruminating and you're thinking and you're trying to come up with a problem. And what I want you to know with no matter what your primary survival pattern is that I always say freedom is the ability to choose. We all have the ability to choose, and yet we've been told that our choices, our decisions don't matter. What we want doesn't matter. But choice happens automatically. A decision is kind of where you have to think about it. So I always say, what else is possible here, right? If anytime you're kind of trying to decide, it's like, come on, hurry up. It's just like I see myself in the sweet shop on a Sunday morning while my dad was getting his paper, and there was all these sweets behind the counter, and it's like, hurry up, hurry up. You got to choose, pick one. You can only have one. And I was, as a child, was like, well, I want to taste all of them. So if you're thinking about it, if you're overthinking, it means there's an emotion there that you're trying to avoid by managing the outcome. And that could look like endlessly debating whether to quit your job, might mean avoiding fear and uncertainty. Or maybe you're wrestling with whether to end a relationship. And that usually means you're avoiding you or your partner's pain in some way. So ask yourself, what is it that I'm trying to avoid or manage here? What am I trying to problem solve my way out of, rather than feeling what is true for me? Because no matter how intelligent you are, you can't make a good decision if your unconscious motives, right? These unconscious beliefs, they're in the subconscious. These patterns are running so automatically that you don't even know that they're patterns until you actually start doing this work, and naming them is the first step. But if your unconscious motive is to avoid feeling the emotion, that's where you get trapped in this perpetual, endless cycle, right? The Groundhog Day of looping thoughts and constant rumination. And no matter what you do, you're buzzing at 3 o'clock, right? Wired and tired. And these have a crossover as well. So, the pusher is the other one. And the pusher, she's like I just see the chariot, or the bulldozer. It's just like forces and fixing and driving forward. And it's a drive that can look like determination and willpower, right? It can really look like willpower, but it's burning drive, right? You got to push harder, and you got to do more, and you got to sort things out, and you got to fix it now. And motion for the pusher is the protection. Nobody ever calls it a survival response because it looks so much more like competence. It's like, wow, look at her. She's really got a fire under her in her belly. Look at her. Look at the way she doesn't quit. She's so determined. So we're rewarded for being the pusher. And when you keep researching and you're running polls, or you're analyzing one more angle, it's really about the need for clarity. It's about avoiding the fear or the guilt or the uncertainty that would arise if you did take action. So the procrastination, or the holding back, and the over preparing, and the over researching, and the analysis paralysis is the pattern in play. You know, the most dangerous decisions aren't the risky ones. They're the ones that you make to avoid feeling something, the fear of failure or rejection or guilt. And of course, society tells us better decisions come from more data or sharper reasoning. You know, do your research, you know, put in your due diligence as if there's something to be afraid of. But the research shows that decisions are always fundamentally emotional. And emotions are the underlying context setters upon where our rational brain acts and reasons. And I mean, there's a whole, you can look up somatic marker hypothesis. I can post the link on the replay um, by a guy called Damasio. It's fascinating. Absolutely, you know, it's just so fascinating to see how we're all wired the same way. We all want the same thing. And we're trying to, all of these protective patterns are trying to manage a future outcome, right? Remember, predict and protect is all the nervous system is interested in. So a good decision isn't one where you get what you want necessarily. It's the one where you can stay who you want to be, right? Who you truly are at the core in your true nature, no matter what the result. And that's where we come back into coherence. Is there I'm going, this is one big messy experiment, and I'm not defined by this decision. You know, it's just like, what's your target? I like to say, what am I aiming for? Right? As if you're the archer and you have 100 bows in your back. And if you're looking at targets, that's a lot better than a goal, which actually comes from the Latin jail. So every time you set a goal, you're actually creating a prison, you're creating a jailer, and you become the eternal jailer instead of knowing that you have the lock and the key in your pocket, which is if you are an archer and you're going, okay, where am I aiming my attention? What is my target? Whether you hit it the first time or not, you have an infinite supply of ideas of creation, of energy, when you're coming from a fully resourced internal safety space, that you can just keep experimenting, right? Every arrow is another experiment, and every choice is a possibility, right? Rather than making a decision. So I find it best to make the decision from what choices do I have by asking myself every time something is kind of, oh, this is a big one, you know, this could be life-changing. Ask yourself, will I be happy 10 years from now, no matter what the outcome? That's a much stronger indicator of whether you're being true to yourself. You know, so ask it, am I deciding to be myself and follow what I want? Right, to experiment and see where this takes me? Or am I deciding to try to manage the unknown, the future? If it's the latter, I don't take action. But that's a really good question. So you might want to write that one down. Am I deciding to be myself and follow my desire, my needs, my playfulness, my curiosity, what I want? Or am I deciding to try to manage the future, which is still a protective pattern? So which one arrives first for you? Just let me know in the chat. Pusher, pusher, pusher. A lot of pushers in the room. Yeah, very masculine energy. And we need that energy, but from a place of safety and resource. Yeah, bulldozer. I know that one well. Yeah. Yeah. Dreamer, thinker, overthinker, dreamer, overthinker, overthinker, for sure. Wow, guys. Okay, so beautiful. So you know what your primary pattern is now. And if you take the pattern assessment, you'll get a beautiful report and some really pragmatic skills to actually go deeper on this into the knowing so that your body gets to digest this. So it's a beautiful place to start. So yeah, a lot of white knuckles in the room tonight. Some capped out. Yeah, that figures. Yeah, of course. But here's what nobody tells you. Every one of those responses were intelligent actions at the time that you needed it. You did the best with what you had at the time. You know, as children, we don't wake up and go, oh, I'm going to be invisible today. Oh, I'm going to, you know, I'm going to make myself really small, or oh, I'm going to be the rebel, or I'm going to get into trouble just to get some kind of attention. It's automatic based on these survival patterns. And most of us form these pre-3, pre-7-year-old. They're already running our lives. And then we grow up and we think that's our personality, right? So it's not a flaw. It's not your personality. It was just a brilliant solution built by a younger you in a weather pattern that no longer exists. And it worked. That's the whole problem. It worked so well that your nervous system has never seen a reason to stop. So why does knowing your pattern, knowing all of this, change nothing? And why does understanding your pattern perfectly keep you in this holding pattern? Every time you say still, listen to your language, what words you're spelling in, because they'll give you a lot of clues as to when your pattern is driving your life again, right? When you're out of coherence. And I love the idea of a still point being a holding pattern, right? You're still holding on to these unconscious patterns. And it's like a plane that's circling and circling. And we say, oh, the plane's in a holding pattern. We're waiting for permission to land from air traffic control. And so that you're circling and you're burning fuel and you're burning energy and you're waiting for somebody to give you the green light to land your idea, your dream, your vision, your mission, your voice, you in the world. And because your head has the information, your heart doesn't believe it, and your gut, your body hasn't got the evidence yet, right? It's a concept, it's intellectual. So you know you're safe now, and you can say it out loud. Say it with me. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. And notice how that feels when you say it in your body. You know, I hear a voice in my head. It's like, yeah, I'm not convinced, right? And you're going to hear those voices in your head. You're going to get it, nah, which is why affirmations don't work, because your body has never once felt it. It's not been given the visible proof of, well, we are safe, right? Look around the room. I'm safe. I'm protected. I'm in overflow. And your body doesn't believe what you tell it. It remembers what you've been through. And it updates on evidence, not on argument, which is why 30, 40, 50 years of understanding your mother changes nothing about what happens in your chest or in your gut when her name comes up on the phone, or your ex-husband, you see him in the street, right? Or whatever it is for you. Because understanding happens in your head and the pattern doesn't live there. Knowing is not the same as feeling, and your body only changes on what it feels. Your body only changes on what it feels. So it doesn't need to be told the war is over. It needs to feel that peace is here. I can be peaceful. I can be relaxed with money, with play, with my business, in my belly, in the jaw, in the breath. Your body needs to go through the moment that would normally take you out and feel itself coming back and register in the tissues that the thing is braced for didn't happen. Or the thing that it is bracing, where you're still holding your breath, didn't happen. That's the gap, not between knowing and doing, but between knowing something and having felt it. And you can't think your way across it. That's the part that took me years. And I'm still an apprentice. I practice this every single day because Every new level, new devil, whether that's in your business, in your relationships, with your health, doesn't matter. Every new level, there'll be a new devil. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So this becomes a living practice of creating your own safety. I understood everything beautifully for a very, very long time. And I'm mercurial, and my Gemini mind loves communicating and learning and absorbing information. But that didn't change my internal state. I was still living outside of my body, functional freeze most of the time. And my body had to learn to thaw out, right? Literally like that iceberg where all of this is underneath the surface, all of that needed to thaw. And it's a constant process of thawing out. And that's the coherence gap between what you understand and where you live embodied. So insight is the first step to freedom, and you are enlightened. You've probably heard this more than once. This is not the first time you're hearing this. And your head understands. It's like, okay, already get to it. Hurry up, give me the juice. But your body wasn't in the room when that decision got made, right? Your head understood, but your body was not in the room. And today we're bringing the body into the room. And I want to guide you through a very short body practice so that you can really feel and integrate the parts that have been protecting you. We're going to thank her. So just take a couple of deep breaths and drop into your body. Maybe wiggle your toes, feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath, your belly moving in and out. Notice the sound in the room. I can hear the hum of the fridge. Children playing outside. Notice you're safe here. And I want you to now bring to mind the one that arrives first for you. The pusher, the head tripper, the dreamer, whatever it is, the shrinking, the pulling back, the gripping, the forcing. And instead of asking how to stop that sensation or that feeling or that thought, I want you to ask what it made possible for you. That part that's protecting you, because it made something possible for you. The shrinking kept you safe in a house where being big wasn't safe, or the pulling back perhaps let you survive something that you couldn't leave. Maybe the gripping got 3 children through a difficult time, or the forcing built the businesses or the career, the whole life that you're sitting inside right now. And that protection is the reason you're here, not despite it, but because of it. So silently, in your own words, I want you to just thank that part, or say thank you. Thank you for keeping me alive. You did a really good job that nobody else was going to do. And you did it for a really, really long time. And I never acknowledged what you were doing. I never once thanked you. Just thank that part now. Perhaps you want to tell your body, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left you. That little one inside. Just tell her, I'm so sorry I left, but I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. I got this. I got you. And just let her know that she can rest. And you might want to just write down what did that part make possible for you? Or you were so busy running to the next thing that you never got to actually sit and pat yourself on the back or say, wow, we did good, girl. Just celebrate the moment before you were on to the next one. I am one of those that never ever, again, coming from a place of not enough, got to keep moving, never fully digesting, wow, look what I've done. So just thank her and write down what she made possible for you. We don't fight her. We're really just welcoming her in, thanking her and letting her rest now. And we're going to do something mildly irritating right now. This is not a meditation or a breathing exercise, but a small, deliberate little lap. Of, oh, looks like, okay, I'm still here. I looked like I lost the connection there for a moment, but we're back. So this is not a meditation. We're just going to notice and activate and then gently come back and notice the difference. So that I want you to think about a thing that's really been upsetting you or irritating or annoying you. And maybe it's a person, that you're upset or hurt with, and it's been eating you up inside, and you want to put it down now, right? You want to call back your energy. So I want you to just bring that situation or person to mind. And if you're, we're going to score things out of 10 here. I want it to be a 3, right? Not a massive, huge trauma. This is not the place for that. But something that's around about a 3, right? On the hot scale. Something that's a slow driver, passive, maybe it's a passive aggressive text or something your sister said to you at Christmas and you're still faintly annoyed by it. So we're not going for the big divorce or your father, right? The father wound or the mother wound. Not the thing you'd want a therapist in the room for, but something around a 3. Maybe somebody that annoyed you at work today, or where you felt slightly used or annoyed by. Children next door, very loud. So you got your thing. If it's something bigger, if something else arrives that is not a 3, that may be a little bit more intense, that's fine too. So just hold on to that thought for a moment. And if your eyes were closed, I want you to just open your eyes and look around and name 5 things that you see that are actually in the room with you. A sound that you can hear in the background. You can hear the dog shaking and the fridge buzzing, color of the wall. And just notice some sounds. Know that you're safe here as this thing that's on a 3 or a 5 comes up for you. And just know you are in charge of this. You're safe, and you can stop this inquiry at any time. There's nothing wrong. Nothing's gone wrong. And you don't have to close your eyes either. So a soft gaze is fine. And again, just notice your feet on the floor or the chair that's supporting you. And that will keep supporting you for the next 10 minutes, whatever, no matter what happens. And notice 3 things as you hold this story, this experience in your head. Just notice, where is your breath sitting? Is it high in your chest? Is it in your lower down in your abdomen. What's your jaw doing as you recall this situation or this person? And how's your belly? Is it soft, or are you bracing? Are your butt cheeks, are they tense? Or is the tension in your body? That's your baseline. And I want you to just remember it as we're coming back to it in a minute. So bring this small irritating thing even more in your mind. Don't tell yourself the story. Don't work out who was right or wrong. Just let the situation be whatever it was, the person, the moment, the tone of it. And again, notice what's happening in your body as you intensify how you felt in that moment when a boundary was crossed or harsh words were said to you or somebody betrayed you. And notice as your breath getting shorter, is your jaw more set? Just notice what's going on in your body. Are you leaning in, or has something in you gone very quiet and very still? There it is. And just notice it. Notice it. That's your protection arriving, armoring up, bracing, getting ready to run, perhaps. Dissociation, getting ready to leave your body. Just notice the protection arriving and stay in your body, because that's the thing that has been running underneath your life for the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And you just watched it happen in real time over something that isn't life-threatening, right? Just the small stuff. So nothing's gone wrong. That's just your equipment doing a really good job, your equipment working, your operating system just needs a reboot. We need to upgrade to a 2.1. Lola, no. Sorry, my dog is growling. So just recognize it. Were you capped out, flatlined? Were you white knuckling it or bulldozing? Which one just showed up? First one that comes to mind. Don't think about it. And whatever it was for you, the pusher, the dreamer, overthinker, I want you to just say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing me this. Quickly, silently, it just came because it thought you needed to be protected. It was so fast. Thank your parts. Good. All right, now we're going to let the situation go. So we're going to let that person leave the room, both feet on the floor again. Look around wherever you are and find something that is actually the color of blue. Look for something blue in your room and just name it. I can see the top of my blue shaker. Name it out loud. And now something that you can hear that isn't my voice. And name it out loud. And now let the out breath be a little bit longer than the in breath. So we're going to just breathe in. And don't force it. Just let it be longer. Let's do that 2 or 3 times. I got a nice release. If you're yawning, if you feel like you want to stretch your body, it's just a beautiful release. One more time. Good. Now I want you to go back to your body and just check in. Check in with your body. Notice your jaw, what it's doing now. Has it softened, released a little bit? Is your belly a little bit softer than it was a minute ago? How's your breath? Has your breath come down? Just notice. Good. And that's it. That's the whole thing. You've just spent the last hour listening to me. Actually, let's say 40 minutes listening to me remind you of your patterns so that you could name the primary survival pattern that was running. And you just shifted your state in about 90 seconds. So did you notice you didn't stop the protection arriving? It just came automatically as it always comes. And it'll come again. It'll come again later on today. It'll come again. It'll revisit you, right? But you came back. You came back into your body. And nobody maybe taught you how simple that was. Nobody taught you how to be safe in your own body. Your body knows. It's been doing it your whole life. In the shower, in the car, at 3 o'clock in the morning. And all you have simply need to do is take notice. Ask, what are you here to protect me from? You know, the body doesn't erase experience, it digests it. And what gets digested becomes wisdom. What stays undigested becomes a pattern, right? Unresolved grief, unresolved trauma. We need to move it and we need to metabolize it. And then the body gets to integrate it. And then we start giving the body visible proof that it can trust, that it's safe. It's safe to be seen. It's safe to have money. It's safe to be successful. All you're safe. It is safe to ask for what you need. And what you just did was just a very, very small piece of digesting and integrating. Close the coherence gap. All right. You got your head, your heart, and your hara, your gut to start working in alignment, in coherence, in congruence for you, rather than fighting each other to see who is going to be the one that takes the lead and keeps you safe. So in the chat or on your notepad, so you can revisit this later, will you just give me one word of what feels different in your body now compared to 10 minutes ago before you did the exercise? Lots of yawning. Beautiful. Oh, your stomach was gurgling. That's a beautiful sign. Gorgamus in the gut is really just like, oh, digesting and letting go. Beautiful. Gurgling stomachs are great. Oh, you were burping. Again, all these are such beautiful expressions of release. And the body knows how to do that. And imagine how long you've been holding that, you know, all that indigestion and gripping on. It takes a toll on our body, on its natural functions. Peace, relax. Oh, Kate, you said you feel more annoyed. Okay, so you may want to go back and do another round of that, because if anger didn't feel safe for you to express your anger when a boundary was crossed, go back and visit that part and get angry. You know, sometimes we need to do that tense and release, actually amplify the anger, right? Make yourself really, really angry until you can't bear it anymore, and then it will release on its own. So inside the collective, the Coherence Collective, the Facebook group, you'll find the tense and release exercise there, or the practice. It's such a good one for you to actually work with these emotions when they're kind of persistent. And remember, they've been there a long time. So sometimes we need to practice this more than once before our body goes, okay, I can trust you. You didn't go away. You didn't abandon me. You're still here. So beautiful shares, people. Thank you. Thank you. Those are great. Yeah, and just you can revisit that exercise anytime, but you saw it doesn't take long. It's really quick and easy to do. And this is the beauty of the work, right? You have these three very strong characters, and they're trying to keep you safe, and your head is what you think and know and analyze and plan, and excellent at strategy. And most of the time it talks the most. It's the loudest part, the head brain. And the heart, this is where we feel and what moves us and what we want and desire, and it's how we love and how we grieve. This is where gratitude comes from, right? This is how we know that we matter, when our heart is broken wide open. And your gut is your will, it's your center, it's your intuition, it's your inner knowing, it's your body's wisdom. We often feel it in the gut. So the gut brain, that's the one brain that knows before you can even explain why you know, right? It's that intuition, it's that gut response of like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm following the breadcrumbs. And for most of your life, there's been one of them that has been running your life, and your head has been holding it. And coherence is all three that get to be heard, that get to be together, aligned, making the choice that we're all on board now. Okay, how do we get Kate or Tracy or Kathleen or Julia, right? All of you to start moving toward what you want. Incoherence is what happens when they aren't working together. And you already know exactly what incoherence feels like. It's the yes arriving out of your mouth while your stomach drops. And it's the smile that doesn't really reach anything, right? You're not smiling with your eyes. Your mouth is just going through the motions, and it's knowing precisely what you should do and watching yourself do the opposite for the 59th time. And it's your head saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. Don't worry. You didn't mean it. While your whole body has gone quiet and bracing and careful. And none of it's the weakness of the will. It's just that there are three directors, three brains sitting at your boardroom table, and only one of them is doing all the shouting at the others. So here's what changes, and it's not what you've been sold, right? The forecast still arrives. Your mother's still going to say the thing. Your boss is still going to piss you off from time to time. You're going to get angry at yourself because the pattern will come up and throw you off, but you're going to come back to your true north. You're going to come back into alignment because you know how. So the gap between the thing and your response, instead of it getting wider, you're going to catch it sooner, and you're going to come back sooner and sooner and sooner. And the more you practice it, soon it won't be there, right? You'll be running new tracks, which is why they say, we're going to rewire your brain. All you're doing is you're running new neural pathways based on giving your body evidence, giving it the proof that we're doing things different now from a place of internal safety, so that you stop abandoning yourself. And then something else starts happening, and nobody tells you about that. Your protection has been interrupting completion. So the good thing arrives, and then part of you sends it back politely, automatically, before you even notice that it was there. So when protection softens, things start to be able to land in your body. It's more ease and effort. It's not performance pressure anymore, right? It's peace, it's purpose, and it's soft and it's slower, right? You have to slow down to be able to hear your intuition. And that's where the garden gets planted, not because you found the motivation, but because you stop needing to guard against having it, right? You stop pushing against the very thing that you want. And when the peace and freedom comes, when you give up when you stop resisting what is, there is no struggle then, right? So you have to stop being at war with yourself. So check in with your body. And I want you to ask your body, does it believe that it's safe enough to become who you know you have always been, and you've never given yourself permission to really step into that true version of you? Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Joe. It's time. You're ready. Marcel says, what took me so long? Okay, no judgment. This is a no judgment place. So again, say to that part that's beating you up, and I'm here now. That's all that matters. And if you take one thing away from tonight, take this. It's the question that I probably ask more than any other. And I always say, ask generative questions. We don't want to come to an answer because an answer is conclusionary. And if you have decided that that's what it is, it can't be any greater than that either. If you're saying, oh, that was the best sex I ever had in my life, then you're defining that as the limit to not being having more overflow, more abundance, more orgasmic juiciness in your life. So we want to get out of conclusion, the conclusionary reality, and back into curiosity, into the generative question of, oh, I wonder what else is possible, and how much better can it get than this, and I wonder what else, right? The childlike wonder. So and there's a rule about when you're allowed to give yourself permission to ask this too. You can only ask if you've thanked the part that's giving you a protest, the internal protest of the head, the heart, or the hara, right? Right? You got to thank her first for showing up. You did that earlier, so you've earned it. And it's this one. Ask yourself, when that is this still the wisest response to the life I'm living today? Is this still the wisest response to the life that I'm living today? And your brain is probably trying to make sense of that question, because that's not really how we talk to ourselves. But just stay with me here, because this isn't, is this bad, or what's wrong with me, or why am I like this? It's, is this the wisest response, the wisest choice, the aligned choice that I'm making, that's going to get me to be fully alive in my life, right? What are you living for? It's that question. Because it is wise, and it was wise once, right? But it's not in the weather that no longer exists. The internal protester, right? The firefighter, the manager, the pusher, the overthinker, right? So you're asking that part after you've thanked it, is this the wisest choice? Is this the wisest response to give me, to help me to live my life? Ask it, call it out. And a companion for the harder moments, is you can ask yourself, does the woman that I'm becoming, right, the woman that I'm returning to, right, because you were whole, healed, and complete the day you were conceived, does the woman I'm becoming still need this protection? Does the woman that I'm becoming still need this protection? Good. All right. Just the last thing, because we're at the top of 90 minutes, and I will stop the recording in a minute and we'll go into live questions. But just know that everything you've done tonight is building one thing, and it isn't confidence, and it isn't certainty, it's self-trust. And self-trust is four promises, right? It's knowing I will stay, knowing I will listen, knowing I will repair, and knowing I will not abandon myself. And that's how the body gets the download that it's safe. That's how you build self-trust. Knowing you'll stay, knowing you'll listen, knowing you'll repair, knowing you're not going to abandon yourself. Your nervous system doesn't believe promises, it believes your track record. So you don't build this by deciding to, you build it by keeping one small promise to yourself and then another until your body has enough evidence to stop bracing, to stop protecting you. And that really is what tonight was about. One small promise kept. You said you'd come and you came, and you stayed for 90 minutes for something that was only ever for you. And some of you haven't done that in a very, very long time. And I'm so grateful that you stayed and that you showed up and that you're here. And I want to leave you with this. Remember too, that enjoyment, right? We were talking about the energy of play earlier, that we don't know how to play. If we grew up beyond our years, right? We had to be the parentified child, and you maybe have big gaps in your childhood. It's another thing that many of my clients relate to, and I had that one myself. It's like I used to call them black holes in my childhood, big gaps in your memory of your growing up days. Is remember, enjoyment is not a reward that you have to earn. It's not it's not something that you have to earn. And sorry, that's my daughter. And it's not a destination to be reached. It's what remains when you stop fighting what is right now for long enough. And it's an undoing of all the shoulds and coulds and have tos and what ifs. You can't manage your way into it. You just can't. You can't plan it or schedule it or deserve it. Again, it's giving your body the visible proof that it can trust that you are going to show up and play for the sake of playing, and that it's safe to play now, right? It's found in doing what you love and learning to love what you're doing too. And it's not always going to be fun. So it's not the relief or having gotten somewhere. It's flow, right? It's I'm just going to see where this takes me, right? It's the what if, and then what, right? And it's calling the patterns when it comes up and saying, is it true? Prove it. Is this really the best for me right now? Calling the pattern just like you would call somebody that's broken a boundary, right? And that's how you get back into it. So it's not about getting anywhere, right? It's not what do they say, the journey. It's in the journey, not in the destination. So stop finding relief in, now that I'm there, I can play, or now that I've got there, I can give myself whatever, right? It's permission to play now, permission to get curious, permission to let your imagination run wild, permission to dream, and going and following that. Because when you fight the desire, when you fight the river, the flow, the natural flow, it becomes work, just like healing becomes another thing to do, right? It's work. It's like, I'm not there yet. I'm still broken. There's something to fix. But when you follow follow the riverbanks, when you allow that flow of information, that stream of consciousness to come through you as a divine channel, and you just follow it, that's where you find your joy in being alive. And the only difference is what you are willing to feel. So thank you for being here. I am so grateful that you showed up. I hope that you found that useful. And just know that what you experienced tonight was real. And what becomes real once can become available with practice more and more and more, so that it ends up being the way, your standard operating procedure, right? You're rebooting, not just rebooting, but you've got your new operating system in place, and that comes with repetition. So keep going. And if this has been useful and you want to know how to go deeper into this, I'm opening up the Coherence Collective. It's a 12-week container where we're going to do more of this integration. Tonight, we've just done a lot of recognition. but we're going to do 12 weeks of real depth into the psyche and the soma, we're starting Monday 6th of October, with a very specifically planned pause over Christmas. And I do that intentionally when I run my courses, because it sets your life by design when you're spending the beginning of January with the clarity to stay the course instead of dissolving into the tinsel and the Christmas cake and the New Year resolutions that are going to come to fruition, because you will have internal safety in your head, and your heart and your gut will be incoherent, so that all the plans, all the New Year resolutions, all the that comes up and gets digested and integrated over the holidays, because a lot of times being around family at holidays activates a lot of these old wounds. So you come back in to the container in January, and we get to really call it and digest it and integrate all of that, and then set you on your true north, on your trajectory to make 2027 a year of incredible overflow beyond what you could possibly imagine. So that's my invitation to you. We're gonna just go deeper into patterns and protection and the body wisdom of where symptoms and that show up. So it's beautifully integrated, body, mind, spirit. And week after week, we're going to build on this, and you're going to grow more consistency in your everyday, and you're going to be witnessed, and you're going to be in good company with other women, where you're going to practice building the rhythm rather than adding on top. So everything you do compounds with this felt sense of visible proof. So it's a founding cohort. I'm keeping it very small, not as a tactic, but because 6 is a beautiful number. If you just look it up in numerology, it has a lot of meaning. 6 to 7 women ready to receive overflow, ready to claim your power and trust that you're enough. So if you feel called to that, just know it's high touch, personal attention from me that you deserve, and where you're going to build really strong collaborations with the other women that become your soul sisters in this. So it's also special founding price of $1,997. I'll post the wait list in the chat, and joining it commits you to nothing, and I'll be personally reaching out and speaking with you, so that we can find out whether this is the best aligned fit for you, or if there's something else that would be better to align with what you're wanting to call in. So that's my invitation, and book a call. It costs you nothing. And if tonight was enough on its own for you, appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up and doing this work genuinely. I love sharing this work, because it's creates such powerful transformations, and I've seen so many lives change. So thank you. And if you have any other questions, just know I'll send the replay out, and I'm going to close the webinar now, and I will, if you have questions, just stay in the Zoom room, and I'll meet you there in 1 minute. Good night, everyone.